Abby. Um, my testimony is kind of long and crazy, and I'm not going to bore you with all of the details. I'm just going to tell you all the important stuff, if that's all right. So for starters, I grew up in San Antonio, Texas. I lived there the first 10 years of my life, and when I was about 10 and a half, as my brother would say, he adds the half for no reason. We're extra in Texas. We like things big, so 10 and a half. We moved to Georgia, and one thing you gotta know about me, I'm a little dramatic, and I did not handle the move well. I was also already I had anger issues as a kid, and my mom likes to say, this is my strong-willed child. Whatever she does, we can't help it. So all of that multiplied and got worse when we moved here. So when I was in middle school and high school, I struggled really hard with anxiety and with depression. And the one thing I noticed as, I'm healed from those, by the way, I'm good. I'm not gonna be having a panic attack up here. I'm good. The one thing that I realized when healing came from those is both moments when I found healing. There was 2 separate times that I got healed, once from depression and then later from anxiety. The things I noticed was in those moments, I wasn't focused on myself. We have a fine arts program at our church, and what that means is we have a group of kids who they go and they will tour, they'll perform at churches, and we do competition for choir and drama and 1,000 other things. And so both times when I got healed, it was at one of those. And those weeks are long and tiring, and it's one of those things where you see a lot of God talked about and you think about him a lot, and you're sitting there like, yes, God, I want you, I need you, I want you to do this. And it's in those moments where you kind of realize, hey, he's not gonna do your list because you're not actually doing anything for him. Obedience and faithfulness is a two-way street. Like, you can look at him and be like, hey, I need you to come here, and he's like, no, you're gonna meet me in the middle. And so both times when I was healed, it was in moments where I wasn't focusing on me anymore. One of them, the second one when I got healed from my depression, I was anxious. I was still anxious. I said anxious, depression. It was definitely anxiety. I was still anxious, and I was sitting there, and there was a girl just on the floor by herself, and she has a whole group of people near her, and they didn't seem to be noticing her. And I just heard God in that moment say, you need to go pray for her. So I got up out of my seat, anxious little old me, and I went and I laid hands on her. She didn't look at me. We never spoke. I walked away, and we had one of those, like, the speaker was up, and he was like, if you just need prayer for healing in your body. And I was like, I mean, my mind's a part of my body, but like, it's not a big deal. And when you're standing there with 20 to 30 students who are all literally freaking out and like having panic attacks worse than anything I've ever had, I was like, I'm not gonna speak up. This is for them. So I took that moment and I literally stepped back from myself and I said, no, I'm gonna pray for them. I'm gonna pray over them. And at the end of that, one of the leaders came up and she went over to me and she went, that anxiety is not yours anymore. You're gonna let go of it. And I was like, okay, Tiffany. Yes, ma'am, I will. But it was in that moment, like, as soon as she said the words, boom, that weight off my chest. God is faithful when you are faithful to others. And so since then, since being healed from that, I went from being a church goer to actually being a Christ follower, which y'all know it's important. Because I grew up in the church. My mom worked at our church in Texas, and my dad currently works at my church in Athens. And I've always been in church. It's always been like, yep, God's good. I'll be there on Sunday. And there was just one morning where I was thinking, maybe it was an evening. I don't actually remember. Again, I'm dramatic. I'm just going to make something up. There was a day where all of a sudden I was kind of like, God, why am I not like who I want to be? I want to be a prayer warrior. I want to be praying all the time. I want to be in my word. And in the back of my head, I just heard him say, hey, you want to be that person? You actually have to be that person. You got to start doing those things. You can't just expect it to happen. If you want to be someone, you have to start walking in who that is. So if I wanted to be a prayer warrior, I had to start praying, and I did. And I pray for people. I pray for people I don't know. It's kind of scary, but I do it anyways because God tells me to. I read my Bible, and you know what I've noticed when I read my Bible? Those little lingering thoughts, the ones that are like, hey, you kind of suck as a person. I can be like, well, in this verse, it says I'm a child of God. And over here, it tells me I'm a daughter of the Most High King. And over here, it tells me that God's with me. So actually, you suck. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. continuing to be faithful has been a huge part of my testimony. It has made me who I am, because if I don't walk in what I've been called to be, I'm not going to get anywhere. I can't reach out to God unless I'm walking towards him. And that's kind of my testimony. That's where I am with life right now. I'm here because, okay, long story short, C2. Our worship pastor at my church, his name's Coleman, love him, great guy. He came up to our young adults one night and he was like, hey, so we have this opportunity for those of y'all interested in ministry. The church is gonna pay for it. It's a 2-week program, all inclusive. Y'all should go if you wanna go. And I was like, that sounds like a great opportunity for somebody. Not me. I don't have a calling. I don't need that. And they talked about it again on Tuesday, because he is persistent. And he's sitting there and he's like, hey, so for some of our young adults, we have an opportunity. And there's like 4 young adults in the room. And I'm like, Coleman, this is not necessary. And then all of a sudden, it's like a little, and I'm like, okay, hello? And it's the Holy Spirit. And he's like, hey, boo, that's you. It is all paid. There is no reason to freak out. They will provide food. It's gonna be good food. You're gonna like it. And so I was kind of like, okay, went online, I filled out the whole thing, and again, I'm like, I don't know why I'm going other than the fact it's free, and why not go? And honestly, when he had first talked about it, I was like, oh, this sounds really interesting, I'd like to do that, but if I don't have a calling, I don't want to go, because I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to be like, ooh, church thing? I'm a church girl. I'm gonna go to the church thing and be a church girl there. And everyone's gonna love me because I'm a church girl there. And then a week after I fill out the form, I had a meeting with same guy, Coleman, great, love him, about starting an ASL ministry at my church. ASL, sign language. So starting interpretation for the deaf in our community so that they could hear the gospel or see the gospel. They don't hear, they're deaf. You know what's the worst? That's the 3rd time I've made that mistake. You'd think I'd know. Anyways, in that meeting I met with a woman, and she said only 2% of the deaf community has ever seen the gospel. So I went home and I was kind of like freaking out for like a good 15, 20 minutes, like I do, because, you know, I'm dramatic. I was sitting there and I was like, oh my gosh, there's 98% of deaf people have not heard the gospel, and it's all on my shoulders. And then again, there's that little, hey, you're going to ministry training. You're gonna be fine. Anyways, that's why I'm here, because I'm being obedient, because otherwise I would not know what I was doing. And I really like knowing what I'm doing. I don't have to know everything that I'm doing, because, you know, that's his problem. Anyways, be faithful and everything works out. It's been a great week. I've met some great people. And now I'm at a great church, and I'm gonna hand over the microphone to my good girl, good friend. Good guy, it was a guy.